Hello there folks, I'm Dan Brown from asortofinterestinlife.com. You're joining me on board good old Narrowboat Tilly, and today I have got a review for you, and that is a review of this, the UP24 fitness tracker from Jawbone, and this is something that I've had for about 6 weeks or so now, maybe even a little bit longer. And during that time, I've been wearing it almost constantly. Only times that I've really taken it off are, well, it's being charged sort of every 5 days or so. And also when I have a shower, just to make sure that it's not constantly on me. And I've got to say that during that time, I've absolutely loved it. And syncing it up to the app and seeing all my various steps and random information. I'm a particular fan of the sleep information that it tells you. And before we dive in properly and have a look at the app, because that's the real sort of heart of what this is all about and what makes this useful, because without the app this is merely a bracelet. So a few thoughts first of all. As I say, I've been wearing this for about 6 weeks or so. I've had absolutely no problems with comfort or anything like that. I think it's absolutely fine, like the way that it sort of, I don't know if you can see there, it sort of springs out and it just softly sort of goes back to that shape. So if your wrists are maybe a little bit bigger, then it does stretch out a little bit. But I've had no problems with the actual device itself, and all the data seems to sync up nicely. I'll have to ask for your forgiveness on the weird camera angle for this one. But if we have a closer look at the device itself, you can see it really is as simple as it could possibly be. There's absolutely nothing to it. It is literally just pop it over your wrist. It doesn't have a strap or a locking mechanism. It is literally just a slightly stretchy, sort of spring back, rubberized finish on it there. The button and the little cap over the charging part here are both metal, so I don't know if that would or wouldn't bother anyone. The back of that's got like the rubberized finish on. But really, there's absolutely nothing to be said about it beyond it's got one button, which you can see, you press it to check the status, so that's just on normal day mode. If we hold it down, it switches to night mode, and again, you can tap that and you can see the moon lights up. If we put it back over to day, if you press once and then hold, it starts the activity timer. So basically now if I was going out biking or going out running or whatever, it would now be saying, right then, this is the time you started. And then when I finish that activity, press and hold, and it goes back. So then it would show up in the app, you've done an activity for this many minutes or this many hours. What is it? Tell us. And then it will enter into the app. It's like sort of, if you want, you could put, oh, I've just been out cycling and it was medium difficulty, and then it sort of gives you a rough estimate of calories burnt and that sort of thing. There's also the power nap mode, which I don't really use, but what I do use it for, if I do use it at all, is as a timer, which you do 2 quick presses and then a hold, and that basically just sets an alarm off at a time that you specify in the app. So I set mine to 45 minutes, so that's basically a 45-minute timer. One of the features that I do love about it is the sort of silent alarm, and basically it's got a smart alarm which you can say, right, I want to be woken up at 8:30 at the absolute latest, for argument's sake, and you can set this in the app, and then you can set it to wake you up to half an hour before that time. So it sort of is saying, right, is he awake? Oh, he's starting to wake up, let's wake him up now. And then it just starts to vibrate, and it's the softest vibration ever, because it also has the idle alarm, which I'm a big fan of, which I set for if I haven't done any proper movement for 45 minutes. So if I'm sat at this desk editing videos or writing or whatever else, it'll just give a quick vibration on me wrist to say, oi, do something new, stop sitting in one place, not moving. And that's something that I've really enjoyed about it. But the actual waking up alarm, I can't believe that something sort of so subtle, and it is hardly a vibration at all, really. And I didn't think that it was ever in a million years going to wake me up in the mornings. But it's what I've used every single day since having it, and I really do love it. It's fantastic. So yeah. The actual thing itself, as you can see, the band's not too thick or anything. I certainly haven't had any problems. I've been sat at the desk and typing away on the iPad or editing videos, and it's not too thick a band at all, I don't think, really. So yeah, that's the actual hardware itself, which is, as you can see, as simple as it comes. The real sort of beauty and the real use of this comes from actually having the app on your phone to deal with all of the data that this collects. A few things on the data that it's collecting from me in particular. as I say, I do live a sort of very active lifestyle. I live out on a little boat travelling around on the canal in Shropshire in the United Kingdom, so that sort of leads me to do an awful lot of walking up and down to local shops in villages, or biking in and out of town to work and to me family or to me friends. So I do an awful lot of stuff, and as such, I was, within the first week of using this, I got a notification on the app telling me that I was one of the top 1% users, which, I don't know, I had a little smile to myself when it said that. So anyway, yeah, as far as my usage goes, I do use it an awful lot, but let's actually look properly now at the app to see exactly what using it does entail. Right then, so into the app where the magic happens. I've got this set to yesterday rather than today, because obviously yesterday was the last time we had an actual full day's activity recorded. So the two bars here that you can see are actual activity and the sleep bar. Now the sleep one is the one that I'm sort of more fascinated by, because as you can see here, orange is awake, light blue is light sleep, and dark blue is sound sleep. So you can see exactly sort of how restless or how many times you get up in the night. And for me personally, to be able to look back in the morning, especially if I know that I've woken up and been, I don't know, if I thought that there was like a cat on the roof of the boat or something like that, and I've gone out to have a look and not found anything, it's quite interesting to look back the following morning and see what time it was. For example, there I was awake at about 5 to 3 in the morning, just for that little bit there. And really, I just like this as a sort of bit of general fascination. And I don't know, this was what I was more interested in when I first had this than the actual activity element of it. So what use this actually is than this information, to me personally, who's not trying to lose weight or diet or anything like that, can certainly be debated. But I do enjoy it, and just to actually have it to look at, I really do think it's just a fascinating little curiosity. So you can see, obviously, it breaks down all of your various things here. So even though I was in bed for nearly 10 hours, which I'm not sure if maybe I should have switched it to day mode a little bit earlier at that point. But you get the general gist. You can see, obviously, how your days are breaking down. And if we go back there, or how your nights rather than days are broken down, if we have a look at the movement one, here you can see I've got my movement goal set at, I think, 12,000 steps a day, so that's why it's 84%, but over the 10,000 steps. And here you can see there's not much actual walking gone on this day, and it's all cycle trips, because I biked from the boat into my mum's house to sort out some internet stuff there, but I was doing that as a sort of en route long way round to get to my friend's house to go for a pizza, and then obviously later from being at my friend's house I then biked back down to the boat in the evening. So you can see exactly how the day's set up there, which again I quite like that, and looking back and being able to compare things as the weeks and days go by, you can see exactly how active you've been. But the thing that I don't like about this is that it doesn't sort of account for your cycling and things like that. It'll add that into like your calories burnt and all that sort of stuff. These are basically registered movements, but it's counting them as steps rather than actual time that I was on my bike. And that's the one thing that I don't like about this, where it's, if you could say, right, every time it's going to log a cycling trip, it'll cancel out those steps. So you get a more accurate view of your overall movement as your steps as an individual count, and then maybe still keep some sort of, this is how active and how much movement you were doing. Sorry, I'm really struggling to get my words out at the minute. But really, the actual app and all this sort of stuff, I really thoroughly enjoy it. If we go down the sort of news feed, this is looking now at where I was cycling the other day. These were tracked in RunKeeper, and it can speak to RunKeeper, and as you can see there, it like even fetches the maps and everything in. So it's a little bit slow because I haven't got great internet signal out here where I am on board at the moment. But you can see these are obviously the little trips coming out from down the canal and then cutting through some of the local villages into Oswestry. And so that I really like, and again you can see your various things. It's like, it's saying it was easy. Yeah, I'll accept that. It was a nice slow ride. So that's something that I like. Those are the basic movement things and the basic actual specifically related to the sports band. But there's also the food tracking. If I have a look here, actually, let's have a look at something like trends. So trends I really like. You can see all sorts of different data from well, basically all of the data that you've got recorded. So if we look at these early days here, you can see there's some like huge days where it's like counting like 30,000+ steps and stuff when I was at work for like 8 hours and then walking around town and all of those sorts of things. But you can also change these to be whichever things you want. So for example, you could have like awake time, light sleep, sound sleep, and all sorts of different things. So distance travelled, for argument's sake. If we change that, you can see then, obviously, because this is steps and distance travelled, are going to be very similar items, because the more steps, the more distance you've travelled. But you get the general principle of that. That's something I like. You can also track your weight, but like I say, because I'm not specifically sort of interested in losing weight or anything like that, I'm just in this for the curiosity factor. I don't really track my weight. But going back to here, you have also got the actual food tracking. Now, I was originally keeping track of all of the foods that I was eating for the first couple of weeks, and then I thought, hang on, because I'm not actually wanting to lose weight, this is just making me sort of more obsessive, and it's the thing that's sort of not necessarily a healthy thing to be obsessed with. So that's something that I decided to stop doing, probably, I think it was like the week before last that I stopped it, but just for argument's sake, I'll add in a little food item now, and you've got various options such as scanning the barcode, and that works quite well. That works on quite a lot of stuff. But what I prefer to do is enter things manually. So, for example, if we let's just invent something and say, right then, I've got a bar of stuff. So if I enter bar of stuff, then it's obviously not going to be able to find that. But if we do add custom item, we've now got this here, which we can then fill in all of the information for. And I preferred to enter the things that I regularly eat on this sort of basis, such as all the cereal bars and that I really do eat a huge amount of cereal bars. And I preferred to go through it and do it like that, because I then knew that every single detail and every option that I was putting in was actually definitely right. And you can see as you enter more data, you get like saturated and unsaturated, and trans fat comes up. And then if we enter something into carbohydrates, it'll then give you the fibre and sugar info to add in. And obviously we don't want to log that, because those would be extremely unhealthy values that I just entered. But basically, the food tracking, I think, is also pretty damn good. And it's quite good to get like the suggestions and little things like this that pop up, depends on what you're doing and how you're tracking. So for example, when I was doing the food tracking, it kept telling me to eat more fibre and all that sort of stuff, and that would give you then the third bar, which would be a little green bar giving you a food rating, and then it would tell you how many calories you'd eaten, how many you'd burnt, and how many over or under you were, and so on. So ultimately, the full package of this, of the app and the actual band itself, is definitely something that I think is, if you're particularly looking to lose weight and do some dieting and get fit and all that sort of stuff, then it's fantastic, because it's like constantly tracking everything and will definitely give you that motivation and point out, hang on, you've been pretty lazy today, and so on. And it's something that I've really enjoyed having just as a basic curiosity. I might go back to tracking my food at some point in the future, but at the moment, I've got to say, I've really enjoyed just having it as a general thing. So ultimately, this is getting the sort of interesting thumbs up. I'll say thank you very much for watching. Please feel free to check out my other videos for loads of proper active lifestyle stuff, getting outdoors, biking, kayaking, boating, and all sorts of general things about life on a boat. Feel free to even add me personally on Facebook and Twitter if you want to add me on here as well. Feel free to like the Facebook page if you want to see photos and updates from life afloat. And if you're particularly interested in what I've just mentioned about the boat, feel free to check out my books available for the Kindle. Search The Narrowboat Lad on Amazon, or just check the links to everything just mentioned in the description below. Until the next time, keep it fit worthy, have a fantastic day, keep it boat worthy, and farewell.